So today I'm here at Inferno Archery, and I got new strings. He got me new strings, new gas strings. So we're gonna go in there and put the new strings on my Mathews, get her dialed in, and talk some archery stuff. So here we go. So this is Matt Schmitz with Inferno Archery. You've had this shop for
since 2007. So I don't know how many years that is, but it's been a while.
I met you 2 years ago. You put these strings on. You recommended the gas strings, and I'm not the best archery guy, but they definitely did their thing. So
yeah, I've been running the gas. Rotation on the peep's good, minimal stretch, but there will be a little bit initially. But
what's the signs of stretching?
I mark the cams and time them all up, make sure we're good to go. And you'll see that if you put Sharpie marks on the back sides where your strings come through, you'll see them just creep ever so slightly. That's fine for about a year. When it goes from little stretch to big stretch and you can't keep it in tune.
What's the signs on the shot, like when you're shooting?
Yeah, so a lot of times if you're shooting a Hoyt, which you're not, but the bus cable is going to be the one that stretches, and that'll produce a tail low tear, and so you'll start getting contact on your rest. You shoot it through the hole, through the paper, and you'll have a tail low tear. Usually the fix is throw a couple twists right in your bus cable. You can predict that pretty clearly. These ones here though that stretch equally, you're just going to have some little shifts a lot of times that you don't really have a predictable tear, but you will have some settling that happens. Your timing will go out. You'll start to see your cam marks that are on your cam not line up the way that you need to do, and then your center serving is going to be the first thing to go. Generally your center serving is going to start creeping up, which is going to make you feel like your peep sight is getting too low. Then you got to bump that up to compensate. Next thing you know, you're bringing your rest up to do what you need to do. And then a lot of times that center serving has already been broken down, separated, and the fix is either to redo your serving or just get some new strings. And if you've had these for more than a couple of years, just easier to get the new strings. You've shot yours a lot. Looks like you've been beating it around the brush. You got some broken strands. So you're definitely due. Yeah,
and I see that. I'm worried every time I pull back. Not that I'm scared it's going to break, but it does.
They break, and they break right there. They break. The center serving is where it's going to get a lot of friction. Maybe you move it up, maybe you move it down, but that point right here where you tie things in, you'll see guys with a string that's in two pieces, and it'll break exactly where you have wear and tear. So it's a valid concern. So it's time.
So timing wise, I was taught just as a do it yourself, see if you're good or not. These holes right here.
It's a good indicator.
That would be your good indicator.
But it's a get you close. A lot of times if you just rely on that, you're absolutely dead center. You put them on the draw board and they're not exactly correct. So the gold standard is to put them on the draw board. I've got a easy press last chance draw board, and you can look through there and see exactly where the timing is. How loose or tight you have your drop cable is going to change how that can be too. If it's set right, it'll not affect it. If it's set too tight, it will change how that bus cable and that down cable pulls on it. So
all right,
yeah, there's a big process into it. Want to do it?
Yep.
All right, so with these Mathews, they've got the spots on the limbs
that's where you set it.
Yeah, that's where I put it. It makes it to where there's no extra pressure on the limb, so I can change my angles, change my distances, and make sure this goes in there just perfect. This Mathews, you got to take a few extra things apart. You got to take out use your Allens to take this out to access your cables. You got to take your cams completely off. Not my funnest and favorite setup to do, but it's part of the gig. tell you. I got my note taken that I do over here too.
And this is for what?
Just so I can remember a couple things. Sometimes the bus cable on a Bowtech is outside, sometimes the Mathews are on the inside, so this is one of those particular things on this bow that I write down a few notes just to make sure I can remember it right. P-pipe, I'm going to measure that out, so when I put your new strings on, we're right where the old one was. Burn an inch. You're gonna get 6 3/4.
That way you just keep it the same.
Yeah. And this bow's been shooting good for you, so
yes,
we just need to make sure that it goes back the way it was, but new strings. Same thing on this side. Pull out your screws, pull out your axles. Oh yeah.
How long you've been tampering with bows though, where you actually discovered or figured out you want to do your own work?
Yeah, so
Obviously you used to go to somebody, I would imagine.
I used to, yeah. I used to live in Forks and there was nobody out there working on bows, so I didn't know anything about tuning. We had some friends help me out along the way just to get things right, but we didn't paper tune, we didn't time things, we didn't do nothing. So in about 2006, I got a Hoyt Tricon, and I think I bought that from the Knock Point up in Seattle. And so I would literally ride the ferry back and forth to have them do my work, to the point where...
Was that the nearest shop?
It wasn't the nearest shop. There was an old one called Packnor up in Port Angeles that was closer. But I bought the bow from them, so I was making the trip back and forth, having them do all the work. And I just watched them doing the work, and it looked like something I could figure out. And then, yeah, that's a lot of travel. It's a couple hours just to get to the ferry, and then get the ferry just to put 2 twists in your bus cables. But after I got sponsored in 2007 by PSE, and they had those new X-Force limbs to where if you put them in the kind of press that I had at home, which was literally a ratcheting press that was homemade, it would have broke it. So I had to get different. I got an easy press, or what did I get? I got a Sherlock press that worked with that, and from that point on I just started working on all my own stuff. And then
all self-taught.
All self-taught. And then small town world travels fast, that this guy has a bow press, so you start getting all your buddies and their buddies into the shop, and you're just working on their gear, learn how to do it. And then we started in Bowl of the Woods Archery back in 2006. and it's just kind of been slowly going ever since then. Last 10 years, the shop's been a lot busier. Kids are to the right age. I'm not traveling as much anymore with tournament archery and all that, but yeah, it was one of those self-taught. If you had to learn anything, you had to get on a plane, go talk to professional archers at national tournaments to get a few minutes of their time and learn how to do any sort of shooting, any sort of tuning. And so it was an investment back then to learn how to do anything.
So you only shot PSC, well, you mainly shot PSC.
Mainly, I dinked around with everything. I had.
Was it a struggle going from knowing how to work on those bows? Now you're learning, people are bringing you Hoyts and Mathews and Vertix and Martins, and now you're like, oh man, I gotta learn all these different bows.
It used to be a whole lot easier. A bow was a bow, the cams were cams, they were simple. Now you've got primes that have different routes with bus cables, you got Bowtechs that go different routes with bus cables, you've got complete disassemblies like on this Mathews where you have to go through this to change out a simple set of strings. So yeah, if you don't see this too often, then you don't really get it down very much. So, but yeah, it was a challenge, but now you just get the reps, see enough of them that you kind of know how you're doing it. But notes help, Notes. So yeah, but a lot of these cams, they can be a little confusing, which side's up and down and which one's in and out, and sometimes the arrows don't help you out much at all. So it's still practice, but yeah, it's getting a whole lot easier than it used to be. But these are nice bows, they just take a little bit more time. My buddies that come through here, I razz them about the Mathews just because it takes more of my time. But then,
well, the last time I was in here, I think it's I don't know his name, but Elk Singer.
Oh, Tony, yeah.
He was in here and he was saying he was trying to convince you to buy one, but by the looks of it, I don't think he's going to convince you.
Mathews has done some really good things in the last 10 years. I wouldn't be opposed to shooting a Mathews, but 10 years ago I was too proud to admit that. But yeah, but no, it's worth it because it takes about 2 shots and then we got a bullet hole through the paper. These things tune up awesome. Good top hat systems. You can pull these top hats out and shim them, which is a piece of cake compared to some manufacturers. So, but yeah, this is a nice bow. Tunes up good. It's just, you gotta rewire the whole thing every time. That's the finished product. All these pieces are the process.
What's up with the paper clips?
Just to keep the strings from untwisting in route.
I got ya.
You can't help but to get a couple twists out. But
how's the supply chain with the
better
with
this
the
year
bows?
than last year? Gas was tough. I was sitting on strings for months like you'd be sitting on a bow last year, but they've sped it up. They had growing pains, they had floods, they had COVID, they had all kinds of things that were slowing down the process.
Are they
a couple weeks turnaround now?
Are they a fairly new company?
Eric Griggs is definitely not new. Gas has been around, I can't tell you how many years, but it's been a household name for quite a few years in the string business for sure. Eric Griggs is the owner. He's got to be getting into his 40s. Shoot, I bet he's 50. And he's been shooting since he was a baby. If you look at the early Hoyt posters, he's one of the guys that you'll see. But he runs the company, and he still goes to all the shoots. And so he's a present person at all these shoots too. The string I'm gonna hang here so we don't lose any twists. get a Bowtech. It's way easier. Or a PSE. This Mathews is definitely the most complicated bow change out of any manufacturer that I typically run. Maybe with the exception of the double roller guard primes, going back like the impacts, good shooting bows. See ya. See ya. All right, we're getting there. Oh, we're about to see my dog.
What's your dog's at? Rosie?
Rosie. Rosie Velt. Yep. All right, getting to it. While you were away, I was talking trash about your Mathews.
That's fine.
I just didn't want to do it to your face. Okay. Bam, we got a bow. Okay, put the rollers back in. Tony needs to shoot a Mathews, but he's a white guy. Tony would look good in the Mathews. Tony'd hate if I was telling you this, but Tony holds the state record for Roosevelt elk. A dinky 349 incher. Nice big bull.
He shoots a Hoyt?
He shoots a Hoyt, yeah.
I thought he shot a Mathews.
No, he shoots a Hoyt. But he should shoot a Mathews. Kidding. Tony shoots a release that doesn't have Velcro that he has to hold on to, or else it's going to fly out of his hands. And he'll outshoot just about anybody at a 3D range. It's pretty cool to watch. He sticks with what works. And the Hoyts work well for him. You're happy with your peep size?
Yes.
Okay.
And where it is, because I run my ring finger into my ear,
okay.
So my anchor point, I guess, would be low.
Yeah, usually low. Yeah. It's actually fairly high for a handheld shooter. You should have the handheld. Which one are you using?
The Silverback.
Yeah, Silverback. Okay.
Which I've been wanting to talk to you about that too, because now that my target panic's, I'm not going to say it's ever gone. It's like an alcoholic.
Right.
You're always an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And so I guess I always have target panic, but I was wanting to maybe think about going to a hinge. Because when I do pull back, I feel like there's just so much more movement.
Yeah.
Versus a hinge where maybe there won't be as much movement.
Movement.
To tighten my groups.
What do you mean movement?
So when I'm pulling back versus just rolling your wrist.
Oh, movement.
When I'm pulling back and I'm pushing forward with my left arm, the bow is moving.
You're talking about that movement, not this movement. You're talking about how long you're holding and how much you're shaking or pulling through the shot?
Yes. That's the kind of movement I'm talking about, where my accuracy could increase if the bow wasn't moving as much, because I'm right now I have it's pretty tight. I mean, it's not, I have to pull back quite a bit with this one, and I like it like that because it teaches me to keep pulling.
Right.
Come season, I'll loosen it up. I'll make it more,
I get you though, because there's a trade-off between how long you're holding, how much you're shaking.
Yes.
And all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, so even though you're shaking, you're probably staying inside the vitals the whole time, right?
Yes.
So if it goes early, you're killing them. That movement, I have movement in my shot too. I'm not just putting it in park right in dead center and pulling all day till she goes off. Mine's dancing around where I want it to go. Occasional spike here and there that you kind of...
You're way off.
That you just kind of...
dip too far.
Stop pulling as much, but you don't relax. You don't start over. You just slight pause and still fighting for the middle the whole time. But I'll tell you what, if that shot goes off with that release that you're using, it's going to be good, right? It just takes a little while getting there sometime because you're steady. Yeah, I've shot those in tournament archery. Some of my best scores are with that style of a release because it's simple. But you're tired at the end of the day and it wiggles a lot, and you always want that shot to go off about a half second sooner than it always does. The hinge could help you. You probably have your set pretty stiff, so you don't have a misfire early.
Yes. So even like last year when I shot that bull, I had it pretty I guess what's the word I'm looking for? It didn't take much to pull it back, or the poundage. I was right at my poundage, just a little bit over. But what I normally do is I keep my finger on the safety, and then I will put it on the vitals, and that will start my shot place. I'll start my shot sequencing, and then I will release my safety slowly, and then I'll start my pullback.
Right.
Because I have had it go off many times practicing.
Right.
As I let off the safety.
The reality is you got to live on the edge if you want to shoot good too, right? But you don't want to live on the edge and have a misfire on an elk that you've been waiting all year for. So a hinge could work good for you. It's it's kind of the same. You got to get pretty comfortable because you probably want to shoot a click as a draw check. But if you shot a hinge as a 2-finger and you just kept your index finger on it, theoretically it should never go off. I'm more comfortable with the hinge. I can hang out at full draw even if it's clicked and just hang out, hang out, hang out, hang out. And then that rotation goes pretty quick if you need to get it to go off. But I've also hunted with a hinge and I've wanted it to go off. You're like, go, 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 go. And sometimes it doesn't go off when you want it to go. So I think it's always a good idea to play with different releases and try to keep that discipline going from one to the next one. But it's definitely worth a try. You might end up going back to that tension activated too. I picked up a tension activated release in Vegas one day. It was the Stanislavski, and I'd never shot one before. Picked it up from the stand, went to the scoring line, had a misfire, launched an arrow into the bleachers at the, I don't think it was at the Riviera, it was at the South Point Hotel. Tightened it up, got it to where it was shooting, and I decided to run with it, and I shot a 300 with just grabbing it. And I shot 2 300s out of 3 in a bow hunter freestyle class that year with a tension. And I mean, they can be extremely accurate once you have time to work with them. This one was a 4-finger. But I've tried them for hunting before too, and I'm not sure if it fits for my hunting. But I have thought about that 20 yard. So if you got 20 yarder, you just get into it and it's going to go off at 18 pounds. You pull about 22 and you know it's going to be a 10-yard shot. You just let her off and go. But I don't know if for me, I wouldn't use it. But that hinge, you can make it go off at any time that you want to, or you can just slow it down, get to your click and work through it. Get your pin on the target, get to your click, and then just aggressively get your pace going through. So I think they're not too far different from each other. Drawing it is a little bit different. You need a little bit more tension on that index finger to draw, so maybe you can't pull as much poundage initially as you could with your silverback, but you'll get used to it. All right.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever go back to just, I want the arrow to go off, I'm just going to pull. Because I think once I do that, I'm going to be...
So disappointing. I'm
going to start getting, my mind's going to come back to want to control it.
Right. I've killed things and known that I haven't shot good arrows before. And even though you kill the animal, there's a disappointment at the end of the day. It's like, I kind of wanted to feel the flow of that shot as well as kill the animal. So you always know there's something a little bit more when you get one down. And part of me is just that feedback, and I think that's what you're looking for too.
When I shot that bull last year, when that arrow went off, it was almost like because I didn't know when it was going to go off. I just kept going through my sequencing, and it went off, and it shocked me. I was like, and then I heard that noise, and I was like, he's still standing there. And then he just tipped over. And
you watch him fall?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
And
Love it.
It was probably one of the. I'm not saying it was the best feeling because I shot him with a bow, but it was the best feeling because I did my shot sequence and I didn't let my mind control me.
Right.
And I let just the months and if not maybe year of practicing that shot sequence actually came through and it did its job.
And is that the first animal that you've shot that
Yes.
had that feeling? Yeah.
Yes.
It took me, my first elk I shot 7 times. My first deer I shot 5 times. And this was 2003.
What was this with a wrist rocket?
Yeah. I wasn't a good shot. I was probably shooting 2 inches too long on draw. I didn't know how to shoot. I was the classic aim way above, pull the trigger and drop and hope for the best, but I could hold really good above that target. I just couldn't put it on the target. So I had target pain.
That's how I was
from the very beginning too. Then I remember I shot a doe and it all went the way it was supposed to go. I used a true ball short and sweet, but I dedicated 6 months to blank bailing and just refused to punch the trigger. And I remember the feeling too. It was like, oh man, I think that was 2005. But that was the first crisp shot. First animal I've ever shot that took one arrow, and it was perfect, and it was just that satisfaction. It was a doe. But yeah, it feels good when it happens like that.
Even when I'm shooting at the house and I'm not shooting good, but I know that my shot sequence is good, I still feel good. Because I know I'm not failing in that aspect of the shot.
Yeah, that's kind of the new goal of that. I'm glad, because that's the art, that's the zen of archery, where results aren't the only thing that matters, it's the process too.
Last week I was shooting my 300. I have a 300 Ultra Mag. And I think that's where a lot of my target panic came from.
Oh yeah.
Was shooting the big mags. So last year I put 33 rounds through it. I did a data chart. And I didn't have one bullet, one shot that was I flinched, that I got scared of. I mean, I rocked my nose a couple of times with the scope, and I still went. Yeah, I still went back into it, and I still shot every shot. So I'm very aware of my target panic, and it's a good feeling, because I'm glad to have that weapon back in my arsenal.
And you were getting to where you didn't want to shoot that one?
No.
Yeah.
And I got a good load for it now. So this weekend I'm going to load them up and go get her sighted in.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's funny, right? Because we tell our kids to just no anticipation. Treat it like it's a dry fire. And here we are. If they loaded a dummy round on us occasionally, it might look a little different. Yeah, it's one of those everyday fights.
Well, and my son, he shoots a little bit of archery, and he's killed 2 deer now, and I mean, I can already tell you right now, he punches the trigger with his little release, and I try telling him, but it's complicated. He doesn't get it. I think when he'll get it is when he understands that he's failing to the point where he has to fix it.
Yeah, I had to get a hinge in my hand because I told myself that I was shooting back tension. And then I got a hinge in my hand and I realized that I was not shooting back tension. And then after that, that's kind of how I based my shot around, was that feeling with any release. And I shoot a Carter like Mike for just about everything. Competition, hunting, you name it. And I try to shoot it the same way. Get over it, hook it on there, and just pull till she goes off without any anticipation. But I also have a bow that I set up that I primarily shoot a hinge with too. My deer bow. It's got a sight tape on it. It's my long range dink around bow. But I like to shoot that one with a hinge just to keep that feeling. Bottoms.
So are you looking at the timing right now?
Yeah, I'm getting the strings don't really come perfect all the time, you know. They come off the jig a certain way, and that you saw how I had to take the cams completely apart. You can't not lose some twists when you're setting these up. So you got to put a couple twists back in it, use those holes as starting points, and then we'll get to the drawing board and make sure that it's perfect. I see a lot of other bows come in here where the holes are not even close to where the string is, so sometimes people just throw their strings on however they come out of the package, and that's not a good way to do it. This will get it closer to the spec right out of the gates. Okay, so now we're at a starting point. You can see the lines, and then same thing on the bottom. I also like to make sure that you, as the end user, have all the adjustment that you need in your sights and in your rest. And so if I see that you're off and pegged out on your adjustments, then I'll change those, put it in the middle so that you can make those small adjustments on your own if needed. The Mathews have multiple places you got to check. You got to check all these inner tracks. The bus cable has a track that things can slip off extremely easily. These can get out of whack in the roller guard if you don't put it back together the right way. There's my dog.
Rosie.
Come on. Hey. Hi. Come here. You smells dogs? Come here. What are you doing? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hey. Hey. Rosie. Gotta get her sniff checks in, and she'll be all done. Hi. How are you? Oh. Rule number one in the bow shop is you gotta pet my dog. Oh, right there too. Is that the place right there? Okay. And then we gotta go right here too. Huh? Mm-hmm. Is that your spot? Huh? Good girl. Good girl. So you can see that our get you close marks, rest is not over tight, it's actually loose. Touch on the bottom, 1/4 inch on the top. So
Where's that 1/4 inch?
right here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it right there. So that stop would come around like this. Yep. Hey, you going? You want to stay or go? You want to stay or go? Little shop dog. Probably a full turn. Yeah, I bet it's more. Nah, it's probably there. Fix the cable. You want that coming around perfectly back so it doesn't wrap the string. Touch. Need about a half twist left and then we'll be there. It's about that far out. I don't know if you can see that in there.
Yeah, it's actually better without your hand.
Without?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So it's got a little play. Your peep's great. It's not rotating at all. Fix the drop cable one more time. half inch was too much, or half turn was too much.
Can you do a quarter turn, or is it just half?
It's halves and fulls. That cable is it's slightly more over twisted than the other one, so I'll fix it from the other side, from the other cable. But sometimes if you just let it sit here for a second, the strings will settle, especially being that they're new. So I'm gonna let it sit here for a second.
When you put new strings on, is it recommended to, after so many shots, to have it redone?
Yeah. So if you're waiting till August 15th, August 30th to get your strings changed out on your bow, it's still July, so we're kind of right on that line of when you like to get new strings put on. If you're in July, you're good. You got time to go shoot it for 2 weeks and then double check these fine-tune things, because you'll see as we shoot it through the paper, ever so slightly incorrect of a tear is going to make it to where your fixed blade broadheads aren't shooting very well. So yeah, if you're putting it in too late, you're kind of at the mercy of, I hope that these strings hold together, and then you got it takes away your time to where you can do a double check, getting closer to broadhead time. So yeah, definitely get in and recheck things. We're gonna tighten that up too.
Do you also have some little bit of felt we could put right there?
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
If I'm really close to an elk, he's gonna hear
you. So just that little bit of time at full draw, or money.
So holding it back for that minute or two.
When I was shooting competition more, I would leave my bow on a drawing board overnight, and I'd come out in the morning, and hopefully it wasn't laying in pieces on the ground, and it never did, but I would leave it like this for a day, and you would change it. You would see that those strings rapidly, especially the cables, rapidly got stretched. I don't do that with customers' bows, but I will do that with my old target bows. Peep came back awesome, square. Going down the whole draw cycle. Checking rotation. Pretty darn good.
And the gas are notorious for that, right?
Yeah.
That's one reason why you really like them.
They will have a little twist occasionally. Every string does, with the exception of Wade. When he gave me my prime strings, I've never seen a peep sight come back so clean. He's too busy. I wish he did all these lines and could take on everybody, but yeah, his strings don't twist. These do a little bit and then they're stopped. Then they're done. Others do though, and they may or may not ever get better. So I like these. Sidehill does a good job too. I think they're down in Oregon. They do a pretty good job too. There we go. All right. So we could do got two options. Could do the manufactured stuff. It does come up. It can have a little spot where it doesn't completely cover the rest, and so those close range draws, you could get a little slide. So gonna put a little chunk of fleece on there, put it in there, make some cuts, and then tie this thing up with some dental floss or some serving. There.
Where did you get that from? Just in
I thought
Lancaster,
I thought I was ordering about 6 inches by 6 inches, but I got that much. So I'm pretty sure that's an Amazon.
That's going to be just like your bottle of glue or whatever you're using.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of arrow rests.
You'll be running that for a long
Take
time.
me 3 years to cover enough arrow rests. So we'll cover quivers and things like that in the meantime too. All right. Pull this down. Get that right in the groove. Make sure that's nice and tight. Grab an arrow, make sure it's seated well.
And you just tie those uprights with floss.
Yeah, some floss, yep. Cut those off nice and clean.
Bam.
There we go. Okay, now we got whisper quiet. Cool. I'm not real concerned about the tips myself here.
Yeah.
That's not likely going to be in contact with anything. All right, cool. I'm just checking your drop cable one more time. Make sure we're not too loose, too tight. Okay, I like it.
One thing I want you to also, like I mentioned when I first contacted you earlier, I feel like my draw length might be a little short.
A little short, okay?
So if you want to just, when I pull back,
Sounds good. I can.
if I have to go get
Get a new module,
Later.
potentially. Okay.
and if it is, I'll do it after the season. I'm not gonna,
Oh, okay. Got it.
because I'm shooting just fine right now.
Okay. Sounds good. You said too short is what you were
It
thinking.
feels like it. Maybe I'm
Okay.
wrong.
Mm-hmm. Look at that first shot. Look at that.
And that's where I come to you.
Not bad for a complete bow rebuild. I'm gonna raise the rest up that much. Just a little. Just. All right. Okay, soft knot time.
Like, I don't know the whole like spinning your arrows. Like, I haven't gotten into that.
Okay.
I haven't gotten thick into the weeds, dude.
Okay.
So there's a lot for me to learn when it comes to archery.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of just I fletch my own arrows.
Yep. It's a good start.
With old fletchings.
Get you some new stuff for later, this year, next year, however. But if they're working, they're working. Alright, I'm going to turn it back to you. Soft knots. To about 5 or 6 overhand knots.
That's just in between your two
Yep.
knots on the
On your D loop.
D-loop. What's the benefit of this?
It gives it a little bit of downward pressure, so if you have knocks going down here, it'll put pressure down on the rest. It'll also give you a chance to place your soft knots perfectly so that you don't have any knock pinch. You'll tell if you have knock pinch if you take your field tip off your arrow, draw it back, and it'll try to lift up off of your rest, and that's not going to be good for accuracy. So you put these on there just the right spacing, figuring in that the string is going to go from flat to bent, so you give yourself just about a half a serving width of gap. Depending on the bow, that'll be just perfect where it comes through and just keeps good pressure on the arrow rest both ways, and that D loop isn't influencing it too much, because these knots, they're as clean as they can be, but they rub on the knock and they don't get off the string correctly if you have just knot on knot. Plus, D loops can move, change your knock point. These, they don't move.
So when I was in here last time, I was shooting 125s on top of these arrows, and you shaved off an inch, and you took me back down to 100 grains.
Okay.
And you were big on arrow flying faster, if I remember right.
Okay.
And you wanted to get me around the 300.
300 feet per second?
That's where you wanted to get me close to, or if not there.
Well, ideally we'd try to get it close to 280. 280 to 290, not much less than that. So we'll do it again today. Weigh the arrows out, shoot it through the chronograph, see what the speed is, figure out which broadhead you're going to be using, which is going to play into it as well. What broadhead are you using?
The one you...
Is it the Q80 Exodus?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. If we get close to 300, that's going to be definitely on the way upper end. 280 to 290 is my happy spot. Some guys really want to shoot 300 feet per second. You can have some declining broadhead performance if you get too fast. Some guys don't care. They're going to shoot 40 yards no matter what. And if they can hit a pie plate at 40 yards, but they're shooting fast as they can, that's what they want to do for trade-offs as well. My elk rig, I might shoot a little faster, 300 maybe. My deer rig, where I'm going to shoot potentially longer and smaller targets, I'm going to go 280, not one foot faster.
So when is it a good idea to run, or when? Because a lot of guys want to run a heavier arrow, like run the. Like you always get the guys wanting to shoot the Valkyries, or
right.
And you are not a very good.
I'm not an extreme guy in any way.
Yeah.
I'm not extreme front and center. I'm not extreme fast. I'm not extreme weight. I like a perfect balance, right down the middle. You kind of have some low end minimums, and if you are too slow, too light, you're gonna have to adjust your effective draw range to where you're going to be not shooting an elk. If you can hit a target 60, but your energy's not going to be there. You might have to just have some discipline and say 30 yards is my max, 40 yards is my max. Not on your bow. Your bow's going to be faster, and you got kinetics, so you're going to be having plenty of performance. So we'll figure out what yours are, but my minimums are, the state's minimum is 420 grains. If you're shooting 70 pounds, 6 grains per draw pound. 420 for me is getting on the light side. 440 is kind of that minimum that I'll be okay with. 450 is better. A lot of the levitates that I've been selling, I can't get them slow enough, so guys are bumping up to about a 500, 510 grain arrow, still shooting 290 to 300 feet per second. It's an effective rig. So those guys don't have any problems. They're just going into a really heavy arrow and then building up their front weight till their FOC's above 11, getting towards 13. But again, I don't do a lot of FOC calculating. I've shot it with 7. I've shot multiple animals and long range events with 7-8% FOC, no problems. So I'm not really into the craze of the FOC game, but it is good information to know. All right, I'm gonna finish tying in this soft knot here. Check that little bit of movement. That's about perfect. That'll close up when he's at full draw. Okay. Some guys, they have a recipe in their minds already, so you can give them whatever spiel you want, and they're going to shoot what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't.
Yeah.
If it's working and flying straight and you're hitting, I guess that's just where I'm.
Mm-hmm. I've killed an elk because I was way fast, where I would have missed him otherwise, though. So I went with the extreme light, way too fast. Had only a couple broadheads hit where I wanted them to, but as long as I knew where the first couple of them were going to shoot, that was good enough for that year. And I think I misjudged an elk. I thought he was 45, he was 55, and I shot him through the bottom of the heart. I wouldn't have hit him if I would have been shooting the same setup that I have today. So accuracy forgiveness versus yardage forgiveness. One elk takes a step, it's what, 4 yards? So there's a lot of drawback, move while you're at full draw, trying your best to be present enough to know that the elk's taking some steps while you're taking some steps. And so I don't know, it's a trade-off, you know. That's why I lean a little faster than heavy when it comes to elk, simply because sometimes you gotta take shots when you don't know the distance, but you're within about 5, and that's usually good enough if you're aiming small. All right. You were at 6 3/4. Perfect. Alright, so just occasionally when you put soft knots on, it changes how that shoots through paper.
Okay.
So have you shoot another one through paper. Did we do your axis last time?
You know, I never did because, do you remember 2 years ago I broke I took a fall.
Did you break a?
I broke that. I'll never buy one again. You probably have one.
Yeah, one of those plastic ones. I know which one you're talking about. You probably broke a black gold.
Yep.
Yep.
I'll never buy another one. I dropped it maybe this far and it shattered it.
You could hit that and it's not gonna break.
So I did it on that one, but I've never done it on this one.
You won't break that one.
No, I meant the axis.
Oh, okay. We'll do the axis. Yep. Money. Okay. No change. Two shots, two perfect holes.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy with
It's user friendly. I am too rough on things.
There's guys that swear up and down with them, and I didn't. The one guy was like, "Oh, we didn't buy the expensive one." I'm like, "Okay, it was like $300."
Right.
Yeah. How much more do we have to go here?
Yep. Here you go. Free up. $438. All right. There you go. Uh-oh, you lost a fletching.
No, that's fine.
287. Nice. All right. That's a good number. All right. Velocity squared. So we're at 287 times 287 times mass is... We're at 438, weren't we? 431. Oh, no,
Minus
no,
fletching.
it was minus fletching times 438 divided by 450, 240 equals 80 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. So you're gonna have no issues killing an elk.
What do you think of my draw length?
It is a little short, just a little bit.
Is it because of my arm, how it's...
Yeah, you're just a little bent. Yeah, just a little bent. But I'll tell you, it's way better to be shorter than long when it comes to which way you're gonna go. Long, you're overextended. Short, you're strong. You're into your shot.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm good there.
Yep.
Maybe after season.
After season,
What, you thinking an inch?
you're gonna need a half inch easy.
A half inch?
Yeah, maybe an inch.
How much feet per second would that gain me?
You'd be in the low 290s. You know, maybe even 295. And then you'd be, if you're shooting a Q80 Exodus, you know, maybe getting a little bit too fast. My personal rig's shooting 294 feet per second with 500 grains. And my Exodus are flying really, really good out to 60 yards.
Okay.
You know, within a, you know, every shot's hitting a dot like that at 60 yards. Yeah, so the test I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna torque it a little bit. I'm gonna walk a little ways and I'm gonna move and then come up and shoot something. Just when you start getting that fast, you don't know how finicky it's going to be. Slight movements, little torque issues, small little form issues. When we're shooting elk, we're not standing on a flat concrete floor with no wind and perfect lighting. So I am going to torque it a little bit. I'm going to do little form imperfections to see how forgiving it's going to be at that speed. And if I don't like it, I'm going to drop it down to 280 feet per second, maybe 285 feet per second, do the same. And I'm sure that it's going to shoot way better at 280 if it's finicky, with a little bit of torque and putting a little bit too much nose pressure in, and those kind of things. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, you're there. Yeah, you're way off.
Yeah, I never had it done.
Okay, it's pegged. So when you're shooting, you're probably seeing your bubble way right.
Yes.
So you're having to tip your bow way right to get it to fix. Yep.
I was wondering that. I'm like, man, that's really.
Okay. All right, we're there. We're level on both fronts. Okay. Now you gotta check your third. That could probably be, just.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And then here again, a little bit off. So the best way to get this correct is to shoot it in. But I will tell you that 90% of the setups I've ever shot as a left-handed shooter, if I put this bubble on this edge, as a left-handed shooter, that's where I end up shooting in my level. If I set it up dead center, I always have to change it while at full draw. So I'm going to put yours right on the left edge, and I'm willing to bet that's going to be right for you too. And that's only that much level.
Yeah, it's crazy. Years of experience.
Yeah, shortcuts.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, 10% of the time I'm not gonna say that. Every single time I set it to the jig, and then you bring two targets out, shoot uphill and downhill at about 20-25 degrees, you always move it.
Crazy.
All right. We are going to shoot it one more time through the paper with your stabilizer.
Because that does change things, I imagine?
Yeah, that was an oversight on my part. Certainly can. For the professional critics out there, they're going, I tuned it without a stabilizer. No, you're right.
I was shooting a chart. I have what do you call it? It's the chronograph that goes on your barrel.
Yeah.
So I shot with that. I was shooting my feet per second, and I was sighting it into. And then I pulled it off, and I shot. don't sight in with the chronograph.
That's what I've heard.
On the end of your bow.
Yeah, it's just to get data. Yeah.
Yeah, it was way off.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, now I gotta resight it in again.
Yeah.
So.
Alright. 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 Didn't matter.
Did it?
No. Shoot one more. It's, I mean, close, but we can probably do better. Yep.
Owner operator error?
No, I mean it.
Good?
It's good. I'll probably throw, you know. Yeah. Nah. One click. Got this micro adjuster, might as well use it. Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, throwing through there again.
Okay.
Alright, we'll leave that one alone.
Right there.
Yep. Alright.
Sweet.
Cool. Just do some finished ties in. Tie your peep sight in.
Yeah, the peep felt good.
Okay,
It
good.
felt really good.
Perfect.
And no, like I said, no twist.
No twist, exactly where we marked it pre. Black tie,
Yeah.
green tie, black tie.
Black.
Just a simple barrel tie and a couple on top and bottom. There's a lot of ways to tie these things in, but this is good enough. I always mark it too. I'll throw a little Sharpie mark right on your tie, so if anything ever does move, you know where it moved.
Mm-hmm.
And with a new setup, sometimes you just, you know, after you shoot 50 shots, you realize that maybe your peep sight isn't exactly where you wanted it. this will give you some ability to make a tiny adjustment as needed. And then when you come in August,
After a couple of weeks.
I can tie this thing to where it's physically incapable to move it.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. Do you know how that I want to kill an elk in Oregon? You don't even know.
Oh,
All the opportunities I've had.
Oh, are you gonna hunt both states for elk?
It's muzzleloader here.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about just October and muzzling is fun, dude. It's actually my favorite time to hunt is early October. I like that phase of the rut.
Yeah, I spent most of my time in the archery season out of the rut, and you get a couple days to capitalize on it. My son's going to be hunting muzzleloader this year, and it's an October 1 season this year, isn't it?
It's always the first weekend of October.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. I just like how it's a little colder. I like how a little wetter. Because I don't call it at all during October.
Oh, really?
No. We have a little phrase that we say, we just pound the woods, dude. We just walk and walk and walk. We don't hunt roads. We don't do anything of the sort. We just get into the timber and go. And
let them do the talking?
No, well, I've noticed they don't talk that much, but the bulls are more mobile because they're looking for those last couple of cows that haven't been bred yet. So odds are if you see a single elk, it's a bull. And they move a lot throughout the whole day.
Yeah, shorter days. Kind of feel like you're always in the game. 14 hours of archery season daylight. There's definitely a lull in the middle of that day. Naps probably aren't as good in October in the woods as they are in September.
No. Days are, and I don't like hunting. Like, the thing about September is that the days are so long.
They are. You gotta take a nap.
Oh, it's horrible.
I love me a good elk hunting nap.
Have you ever hunted the muzzleloader season before? Like,
Nope.
With a bow?
Nope.
No. You'll like it. I mean, there's a lot of people that do it with a bow. They choose to hunt instead of Washington's elk season with a bow. They'll
If I drew multi-season, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of people do. But it's the ambiance of the muzzleloader with a cold morning, or when you fire that thing off and smoke goes everywhere and you can't even tell if you hit it yet.
I did go with a guy one time. I saw him shoot an elk one time. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
The ambiance.
We couldn't see the elk. It was the shot. And
yeah, you're like, wait.
Well, was there an elk here? Okay, you're tied.
Sweet, dude.
Fleeced up, tied it in. Your timing is perfect. Your paper tear is perfect. The drop on your cable's perfect. Your axes are perfect. Shoot in your third just to make sure that you're like me and 90% of the population that ends up on that side. Your peep sight rotation and height is perfect. And your numbers are good for killing an elk. Little on the light side, right at 440, but people kill them with 390 grains, blow all the way through them with 40 pounds sometimes. So, on the extreme side, you're not on the extreme, but you're in a really good spot that if you hit it in a good spot, you're gonna have no issues at all.
Sweet.
Yep, I like it. Just get you some of those Inferno Archery wraps.
No,
and
I
fletchings, and we'll be in
think
good
I think
shape.
after the season, I definitely want to. Yes, I want to change my fletchings and start doing that. Get into the arrow.
Some way out west fletchings.
I don't know if I can buy that many.
Well, you can. You just got to buy $200 of a print on top of that. So there's ways around it.
Well, I thank you, Matt.
No problem, buddy. Thanks for making the trip.
No, if any of you guys here in Southwest Washington or in Oregon, as you saw, he is a professional, straight across the board, and I highly recommend coming up here as a beginner, as you've been doing it for years. You want a new bow. Obviously, you do sell Bowtech and PSE.
Yep. So Darton.
And Darton.
Yep. And getting signed up with Fredbear. So there will be another couple lines coming through here too.
There you go.
Yep.
You are located just east of Aberdeen.
Yep. Central Park. Just a little county spot between Montesano and Aberdeen.
Yep.
Yep.
And where could guys find you if they wanted to?
Yep. So my social media handles are Inferno Archery LLC on Instagram, and I think just Inferno Archery on Facebook. My phone number's on there. You can give me a call, and the address locations are all on there too. So
And you do have a day job, so
I have a day job.
it's not every day you show up and
Yeah.
he's here.
Yeah, this time of year I'm in the shop probably 4 days a week on a rotating schedule. My schedule is a 1 on 2 off schedule at work, and so that's only 2 days a week on the real job, and so the other days I'm in the shop. I pretty much don't take a day off in the summertime, so I'll be here. I'm easy to reach on Messenger, and I'm pretty good about following up and posting store hours this time of year.
Well, I appreciate it.
No
and
problem, buddy.
I can't wait to take it out.
Yeah, well, it's a good rig, so have fun.
Thank you.
Good luck.